The neon glare of Las Vegas cast long, restless shadows across the Strip. It was 1993, and the city's pulse beat with gambling, glitz, and something darker, something only those who trafficked in the underworld could truly feel. Dominic Dom Rossi leaned against his sleek black Cadillac outside the Riviera, his eyes tracing the endless streams of tourists, performers, and gamblers. To the untrained eye, he was just another suited businessman enjoying the Vegas night. But those who knew him knew better. Dom was the consigliere of the Rossi crime family, a mid-tier empire rapidly growing under the radar, ambitious, precise, and dangerous. Inside the casino, Vincent "Vinny" Rossi, Dominic's cousin and the family boss, watched the roulette tables with a cold, calculating gaze. The family had expanded aggressively over the last 2 years. Control of underground poker rooms, a few shady construction contracts, and whispers of a new smuggling route through Nevada and Arizona. But growth had its price. Rumors of betrayal had begun trickling in, and Vinny knew the delicate balance of loyalty could crumble with a single misstep. Tonight, a meeting was scheduled at a private lounge in the Stardust. A man named Frankie Caruso, a minor rival from Los Angeles, had promised information that could cement Rossi's dominance. Dom was tasked with securing him. The lounge smelled of stale cigarette smoke and expensive bourbon. Dom entered, eyes scanning the room, noting the way shadows pooled near the corners. Frankie was already there, looking nervous, his expensive suit slightly ill-fitted, beads of sweat forming despite the cool air conditioning. "You're late," Dom said, voice low, carrying the weight of authority without shouting. Frankie swallowed hard, avoiding Dom's piercing gaze. I have information," he stammered, sliding a manila envelope across the polished mahogany table. But they're watching me. They'll kill me if I—" A sudden explosion of sound shattered the moment. Gunfire erupted outside, the lounge's glass doors splintering as masked men stormed in. Dom's instincts kicked in. He dove behind the table, pulling Frankie with him. Bullets ripped into the walls, the chandelier swaying violently above. The room filled with the chaos of screams, shattering glass, and the acrid smell of gunpowder. Dom returned fire, aiming precisely, each shot calculated to neutralize threats. Frankie shrieked, trying to crawl away, but one of the gunmen grabbed him. Dom tackled the man, twisting violently. They fell to the ground in a brutal struggle, chairs toppling over. Dom's mind raced. Who knew about this meeting? Who tipped them off? The gunmen fled as quickly as they had come, leaving carnage behind. Dom checked Frankie. The man was alive but pale, trembling uncontrollably. "We need to get out," Dom said, ushering him to the car. Outside, the Strip's neon lights flickered, almost indifferent to the violence that had just unfolded. The city's heartbeat continued, oblivious or perhaps complicit. As they drove away, Dom's mind worked furiously. Someone inside the Rossi family had betrayed them. Loyalty, once unquestionable, had become a dangerous commodity. Every handshake, every whispered conversation was now suspect. They needed to find the mole before Vinny's empire collapsed entirely. Back at the safe house, a nondescript apartment in the outskirts, Dom secured Frankie in a reinforced room, offering him bourbon and trying to calm his nerves. "Who's behind this?" Frankie whispered, eyes wide. Dom shook his head, pouring himself a glass. "We don't know yet, but someone knows our moves, our meetings, someone close." The night dragged on, punctuated by silence and tension. Dom traced lines on a map of Las Vegas, marking casinos, alleys, and old Rossi-owned warehouses. It wasn't just a turf war, it was a game of intelligence, strategy, and survival. Any miscalculation could be fatal. The streets were alive with watchers, and every shadow seemed to harbor danger. Hours later, a call came in. The voice was disguised but familiar. "Dom, you're being watched. They know where Frankie is. Move him now." The adrenaline surged. Dom gathered Frankie and a few loyal enforcers. They moved silently through service corridors, back alleys, and rooftop access, the city's neon lights casting fleeting reflections on the asphalt below. By dawn, they reached a deserted warehouse near the old Strip, a relic from Vegas' early casino days. Dom locked the heavy steel doors and leaned against the wall, exhaling. "This is temporary," he muttered, "but someone inside wants us gone permanently." Frankie sat on the floor, shaking, realizing he had just narrowly survived an orchestrated assassination. Dom's mind, however, was already plotting retaliation, tracing the network of alliances, weaknesses, and vendettas that could unravel the Rossi empire, or save it. Outside, Las Vegas woke up to the usual chaos: tourists, performers, and the oblivious hum of slot machines. But behind the facades, in the shadows of the neon, the game had already begun. Betrayal, bullets, and blood were the only constants in a city built on luck, and survival in Dom Rossi's world required neither. Tonight, the Rossi family would learn that the true power in Vegas wasn't in money, casinos, or politics. It was in intelligence, trust, and the willingness to confront the darkness lurking in every corner of the Strip. The first rays of dawn painted the Strip in shades of gold and pink, a stark contrast to the chaos of the night before. Dominic Rossi stood at the edge of the rooftop of a derelict hotel, overlooking the city that never truly slept. The echoes of gunfire and shattered glass still lingered in his mind. Frankie Caruso sat huddled beside him, his hands trembling around a cup of lukewarm coffee. I didn't even see them coming," Frankie stammered. Dom's eyes narrowed, scanning the streets below. Betrayal had a familiar scent, and it hung thick in the Vegas morning air. Vinny Rossi, the family patriarch, had built the empire on discipline, fear, and careful orchestration. And yet, someone within their ranks had tipped off the Caruso faction. It wasn't just reckless ambition, it was calculated treachery. Dom's mind raced, piecing together the puzzle. Every meeting, every phone call, every courier had to be examined. A slip like last night's ambush could not happen again. By mid-morning, Dom and his loyal enforcers reviewed the ledger of associates, deliveries, and casino connections. Each name was scrutinized. Every past interaction became a potential clue. "We need to flush out the mole," Dom said finally, his voice low, cold. Frankie nodded, still shaking. Survival in the underworld was never about luck. It was about anticipation and strategy. Hours later, a lead emerged. A Rossi courier had been spotted leaving the Golden Nugget with a briefcase, one that should never have left the family's hands. Dom followed him through narrow alleys, past flickering neon signs and deserted casinos, until the courier reached a secluded parking lot behind a closed nightclub. There, waiting in the shadows, was Marco the Viper Lukes, a trusted lieutenant until now. Dom's jaw tightened. Marco had been feeding information to the Caruso faction for months. Dom stepped from the shadows, gun raised. "It ends here, Marco," he said. The man laughed nervously, raising his hands. "Vinny wouldn't understand. I was securing our future," Marco stammered. Dom didn't flinch. One precise shot echoed through the parking lot and Marco fell. Betrayal had its price and Marco had paid it. Back at the safe house, Dom outlined a new plan to Vinny over the phone. The Caruso faction was strong, but they had underestimated the Rossi family's reach and strategy. Tonight, the city would learn that Vegas belonged to no one faction. It belonged to those who controlled intelligence, influence, and the fear it inspired. As darkness fell, Dom positioned his men across the city, inside casinos, on rooftops, near alleys. Every possible entry and exit point was monitored. The Caruso faction struck first, attempting an attack at a Rossi-owned poker den on Fremont Street. Dom's men were ready. The ambush was neutralized swiftly, almost silently. Patrons never knew danger had brushed past them. Frankie watched in awe as Dom orchestrated the defense with meticulous precision, every move calculated like a deadly chess game. The aftermath left the Caruso faction reeling. Their attack failed and their mole was gone. Dom called Vinny. "They underestimated us," he said, voice tight. Vinny's calm reply came, filled with authority and pride. "Good, let them know. The Rossi family does not forgive. Vegas is ours." For days, Dom reinforced security, double-checked informants, and strengthened alliances. The city's glittering streets, casinos, and neon lights masked the silent war waging beneath. Survival required vigilance, and trust was now a rare commodity. One night, standing atop another abandoned hotel, Dom reflected on the cost of loyalty and betrayal. Frankie, still shaken but growing braver, asked, "Do you think it's over?" Dom's eyes scanned the strip, the city alive and oblivious below. "Over," he said, voice low, edged with both bitterness and determination. "In Vegas, nothing is ever over, but for now we survive. That's all that matters." Beneath the glimmer of neon and the laughter of tourists, the underworld pulsed with danger, schemes, and vendettas. Dom knew that every handshake, every whispered promise could mask betrayal. But he also knew that survival and victory depended on cunning, patience, and an unwavering willingness to confront the darkness, no matter how close it came to home. As the strip flickered against the desert night, Dom silently vowed he would protect the Rossi family, crush the Caruso faction, and reclaim the streets of Vegas, brick by neon brick. One battle had been won, but the war for control of the city and the trust within his own family had only begun. Vegas never slept, and neither did Dom Rossi. In the shadows of the strip, the game continued, deadly and unrelenting.